Jellymon is one of the coolest and most unique blue decks that I've seen recently, just because you can actually utilize your trash to cycle it back and do a whole bunch of combos and effects. And let's show you guys what I got today for my build. Alright, starting off with Digi-Egg cards, 4 copies of the RB1 Amphimon right here. This is the dedicated Digi-Egg card of the deck of when attacking, once returned by trashing 1 blue card from your hand, you get to trash the bottom source of one of your opponent's Digimon. So gonna be doing a lot of these, trashing the opponent's sources so that we can go for even bigger combos, and you guys will get to see later on as well. Let's now talk about our rookies. 4 copies of the RB1 Jellymon, fantastic rookie. As per usual, it's your on-play searcher, revealing top 3, grabbing yourself a Jellymon in text card, and also a Kiyoshiro as well. And then with its inheritable, your turn once a turn, when one of your effects trashes a card from your hand, you get to gain a memory. Really nice. You guys can see the combos coming in ready, and the synergy when it comes to the eggs as well. Next up, 4 copies of the BT13 Jellymon. This one is evade. Mainly you just want to be digivolving it. You don't really want to use its evade as much because of its inheritable is kind of nice. When attacking, trash the bottom Digivolution card of one of your opponent's Digimon, and it's not once per turn as well, so it's going to come in handy, which is going to be really nice to again synergize with some other effects later on. Then to round off for the rest of the rookies, 4 copies of the BT8 Jellymon. This one lets you draw a card when you play a blue Tamer once per turn. It also has the inheritable, your turn once per turn, when effect adds a card to your hand, which you do a lot in this deck as well. You get to bounce when your opponent's level 3, so great for like sort of like semi-removal, a little bit of like getting rid of like floodgate rookies and stuff like that too. Pretty nice to sort of have more board control. But that's it for our rookies. Now let's talk about our level 4s. 4 copies of this brand new Tesla Jellymon from RB1. When digivolving, if you don't have a Kiyoshiro, you get to play one Kiyoshiro for free. So again, really nice because it's the level 4, letting you to play a dedicated Tamer when you're digivolving, which is always ultra value, and it's inheritable. Your turn once per turn, when one of your effects trashes a card from your hand, just like the brand new Jellymon from RB1, you get to gain a memory to extend your turn, you know, go for bigger combos and plays, which you definitely want to see as much as you can in the early stage of the game, so you can play your Tamers for free, like I mentioned. Then we got 4 copies of the BT13 Tesla Jellymon. Simple effect when attacking, not once per turn, get to draw 1 card, so if you're able to unsuspend this somehow, it's gonna be nice. It only has 5,000 DP, so you know, keep in mind, but having that draw power is kind of neat. Otherwise, it has the inheritable, very similar to one of the other Jellymons. When attacking, trash the bottom card of your opponent's Digimon, so then sources to get rid of stuff, and again, have really nice effects. Then last but not least, 2 copies of Lanamon, new dedicated blue hybrid of the deck. Its jamming is kind of nice, being able to sort of tuck a level 3 underneath when you digivolve to gain its inheritable is also really fantastic as well. And being able to do that, that's when you get to go for hybrid for a game. Otherwise, you can build your stack, and then gaining jamming again is kind of nice again to sort of swing in safely too. But that's it for the level 4s. Let's now talk about our level 5s. 4 copies of the Talisman from RB1. When digivolving, you can trash up to 2 blue cards from your hand, and for each one, you can trash any 1 card under one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers. So either trashing sources or getting rid of stuff underneath Tamers is definitely going to be nice and very unique. And then until the end of your opponent's next turn, one of the Digimon Tamers without any sources can't suspend. So very different now. Not stunning specifically, but you're preventing your opponents from suspending, which kind of virtually stops them from attacking, but also stops them from utilizing any effects potentially as well. And then with its inheritable, end of attack once per turn by returning 3 cards with Jellymons in its text from your trash back to the bottom of your deck in any order, you get to unsuspend this Digimon. So being able to unsuspend is always nice when it comes to blue, so you can make multiple attacks and go for the aggressive side of things and its offensive strategy, which is always great. Then we got 4 copies of the other Talisman right here. We're going to quickly talk about its inheritable because it's exactly the same as the RB1 as well, being able to, you know, bottom deck 3 things, unsuspend at the end of the attack. This one has a little bit different. It has a warping potential Digivolution requirement. It has a hand main effect, as a matter of fact. If you have a Kiyoshiro in play, by placing 1 Tesla Jellymon from your hand as one of your Jellymon's bottom Digivolution sources, the Jellymon can actually warp and jump Digivolve straight to this level 5 by paying 3 memory costs. Really nice, so that you can jump immediately and go for big combo plays, and being able to do that so that you can go to the level 6 and access it a little bit faster, which is always fantastic. Now, speaking of our level 6s, 4 copies of Amphimon right here. Amphimon is definitely the main boss Digimon of the deck. This one from RB1 specifically does cost 4 to Digivolve, but it's totally fine because it has a when digivolving, when attacking effect, not once per turn. You can trash up to 2 cards from your hand, and for each card that you trash, you can trash one of your opponent's sources anywhere that you like to choose to do so. Then it has a secondary part to this first effect, is that you get to return one of your opponent's Digimon that has no sources to the bottom of the deck. So you can actually return potentially bottom deck like 2 things in one turn, or even 3 things sometimes, which is absolutely fantastic. Really strong, powerful card. Really great for, you know, countering against big stack decks, even decks that to get remove sources, and then potentially bottom decking. Like I always mentioned, bottom decking is one of the best removals, I personally feel. And in synergizing together with trashing sources, you can actually overcome a lot of protection effects, which is really cool. It has a secondary effect. All turns once per turn. When one of your blue Digimon would be deleted, by returning 3 cards with Jellymon in its text, you get to prevent its deletion to have its sort of like built-in protection for this deck as well. Again, fantastic card that you want to be seeing as often as possible, just because of how strong it really is. Then there are 2 copies of the promo Amphimon, which we also got together in RB1 set. This one digivolves with 3, which is kind of nicer, so you can get into it a little bit quicker. But you get to trash 3 blue cards from your hand, and for each you try to trash one of your opponent's Digimon sources underneath the Tamers, just like the other one essentially when digivolving. And then otherwise it has a secondary effect opponent's turn. When an opponent's Digimon attacks by returning 3 cards of Jellymon as text to the bottom of your deck, you get to stop the attack instead. So different to protection, you get to stop attacks, which is really nice. And then looping back to the first when digivolving effect, it's kind of nice because you can also prevent your opponent's Digimon or Tamers from suspending for the next turn, which is always fantastic. So then you can sort of again have that kind of control aspect if you ever want to get into it. And then last but not least, for all the Digimon, Blitz Omni is just always nice. We do make a lot of attacks every here now and then we want to have that extra swing for game, which is going to be really crucial to help us close it out sometimes. Therefore, at least one is going to be nice there too. Then now let's talk about our Tamers. 4 copies of the brand new RB1 Kyo right here. It's 3 costs. Now, when one of your Digimon with Jellymon in its text or an opponent's level 5 or higher Digimon attacks, if you have 7 or fewer cards, you get to suspend this guy to draw 1 card. It has a secondary effect. When this Tamer becomes unsuspended, you get to gain 1 memory. So pretty good setup. You can kind of gain a bit of memory at the start of your turn, which is going to be really crucial for this deck. Generally, you're going to need quite a bit of memory. So hopefully you can retain your turn and go for the big combo plays again, which I'll talk about later as well. Then we got the good old Kyo right here, the 4 cost one from BT9 specifically. It is your memory tamer, but also very similar to the newer one is that when you attack with a Digimon that has Jellymon in its name or is a level 5 or higher Digimon, as long as you have 7 fewer cards in your hand, suspend this guy to draw 1. So, you know, draw power is really what you need. You need to cycle a lot of cards because you actually trash a lot of cards from your hands, as you guys can see from all your other Digimon. So you want to keep a constant cycle. You want to keep at a threshold of underneath 7 or fewer, but at the same time, again, so then you can have enough ammunition to go for your combo plays, and then you can cycle your stuff again and again and again. Anyways, let's talk about our options now. 3 copies of Blue Memory Boost, just a fantastic blue staple generally to have, of course, to search for stuff and gain memory as well for more plays. And then we have 2 copies of Sora right here. Sora is a really good meta call just to like stop decks like Shine Gray, Blue Flare even, and even Roaring Knights, but also has a lot of synergy with this deck overall because it can immediately trash 4 sources, and then it can really synergize with your Amphimon as well as to bottom deck your opponent's Digimon while doing so. So definitely a really good one. And then last but not least, just 1 Ice Wall to wrap it up right here as a blue staple. Okay, other cards that you guys can include in this deck is this other Jellymon from the promo P051. Very simple and hurtable, that when attacking once returned, if you have a Kyosho, you get to draw 1 card. Not as great as the other Jellymons, but it's kind of nice if you do really want to value that kind of draw power. Another really cool one that I'm just trying to bring back as a suggestion is the very early promo 004 Gomamon. Your turn was returned when you trash a Digivolution card of one of your opponent's Digimon. You get to gain a memory because you do a lot of that in your top end combo. This is actually going to be really nice. Like I mentioned, gaining more memory means more plays, more cards, and more pressure and more setup. Always fantastic. Then, as for another tamer you guys can include, it's the other Kyoshiro, that's the promo 064. This one is that when you attack with a Digimon that has Jellymon as Digivolution cards, you get to spend this guy to give that particular Digimon jamming. This deck is not super strong, especially anything that is not Amphimon, because it can't protect itself from being deleted. Therefore, if you ever do want to do early checks, early attacks with your level 5s and level 4s, this Kyosho is kind of nice to have as well, so that you can play a little bit more variety and give yourself a bit more versatility of wider range plays, which is always going to be nice. And then for removal stuff, there's Great Maelstrom that you can play, or Full Moon Meteor Impact, which is really good for bottom decking for Great Maelstrom. Full Moon Meteor Impact is a very cost-effective balancing effect as well. So based on your personal preference, play whichever you like. And then last but not least, of course, you guys can always play Hammer Spark, which is always a really great security bomb, but also helping you extend your combos and plays as well, which you're going to need quite a bit of memory if you ever want to push it earlier and get more aggressive earlier, which is always going to be really nice. So that's basically it for all the tech choices I have. All right, how to play Jellymon and Amphimon and the whole combos of everything. When it comes to mulligan and seeing your hands, early stages of games is actually very straightforward. You actually just want to see a straight Digivolution stack from your 3s to your level 4s to your level 5s. Any of them will really do, because you want to be patient with this deck and then eventually see your 6. And of course, you want to be seeing any of your Kyos right here. Ideally, the new one's kind of really neat because it's just more memory efficient, but also the memory tamer one is also really good. They both serve the same purpose, to help you draw cards as long as you're under 7, and you always want to keep a healthy number somewhere between underneath 7 and a little bit over 7, so then you live your trash and combos and go on, and as you go on. So again, early stages, this deck is not super early game focused. It's actually a bit more late game focused. For a blue deck, building your stack carefully is really important. So if you need to find pieces, that's when you hard play your Jellymon to search for more Jellymon related stuff. The ideal one you can just digivolve is into this one or this one right here. Any of these two would do. And then this one, like I said, you want to hard play more mainly, but sometimes having it in your stack is nice because you can gain memory back, and that's what you really want to go for. Digivolving into your Tesla Jellymon, you know, either or these two is always great. You just have to go into whichever you see sooner. You can't wait too long. You don't want to be too greedy with how you want to build your stack. So whatever you have first is great, again, like I mentioned. And then when it comes to your Thetismon, you know, sometimes it's nice to digivolve this one outside in the battle area and do some early stunning against your opponent. But if you not have a secondary stack or whole second line to get ready to go for a comeback, in case if your opponent ever gets rid of this, you can, you know, suffer a lot and get really severely punished. So you don't really often enough that I realized to go into this Thetismon in the battle area. Otherwise, the other one is this warping one, which is nice because you want to save your Tesla Jellymon from your hand. If you ever start your turn at 3 memory, you get to tuck this Tesla Jellymon underneath, making sure you have a Kyo by using the hand effect of this Thetismon, and you only pay 3 memory. So ideally, you might be at 0 memory afterwards getting into this one. And then this is when you can kind of choose if you want to attack. Ideally, you don't want to attack into your opponent's security. There's a lot of threats, lots of bombs. Thetismon is not super strong, so therefore you do just want to chill, and therefore go into the Amphimon and control that way. You pass your opponent to 4, but because of its when digivolving effect, you get to, you know, trash a card from your hand, and then you get to trash sources underneath your opponent's Digimon and bottom deck potentially, and you can even gain a memory back if you ever have that inheritable, such as like the Tesla Jellymon or any of the Jellymon, which is always fantastic. And a very important note to keep in mind is that when the cards you're trashing from your hand have Jellymon in its text, one form and another, so that you can always cycle with Amphimon and Thetismon inheritable. In the next turns, if you ever have, you know, be able to retain your turn, you can swing and suspend, swing, and then basically, you know, bottom deck a lot of your opponent's Digimon, trash a lot of sources, and clear the board like that and establish your advantages. Very important, right? You swing with your Amphimon. Make sure you use any effects that trash cards from your hand, such as the Pyomon. Use the Amphimon cards if you need to. If you have low cards in your hand to begin with, then you want to suspend your Kyoshiros to draw your cards. Suspend this one, either or is always great. Always remember, this Kyoshiro, the new one, has all turns effects to suspend itself, so that you can set up for your next turn. When it unsuspends, you gain a memory as well. So really important. You always actually want to be looking out to suspend this during early stages as much as you can to set it up during your own turn, otherwise during your opponent's turn as well at the same time, so you can gain a lot of memory and continue your plays that way, so you can go for big combos. Once you draw your cards, trash your cards, and then your Amphimon will basically bomb deck your opponent's Digimon, and then at the end of the attack, if it ever is in threat, once per turn it has that all turns effect. By making sure bottom decking 3 Jellymon related cards from your trash back to the bottom of your deck, you get to kind of protect it for once from deletion specifically. Now, at the end of the attack, you want to make sure, again, you got another 3 in your trash that has Jellymon as text. Q also works as well, which is fantastic because it's not specific Digimon cards. It's just any cards with Jellymon as text. Bottom deck it, unsuspend it, and then go again for a check. You know, continuing to trash more cards in your hand. If you have more Keos, it's always great because you have multiple copies. You can always draw more, which is always fantastic. And once you draw more again, you can continue with this combo, bottom deck more, and basically cycle this effect over and over again. And then you basically go for really aggressive attacks later in the stages of the game, clearing your opponent's board, and there's very little they can do to sometimes to sort of counter back because they're gonna have to rebuild their board again, and you can just establish a really strong presence. And that's a very simple way of how you want to be playing Jellymon and Amphimon with this whole combo. So if you guys haven't done so yet, be sure to check out the gameplay video right here to see this deck in action as we sort of clear our opponent's board with these crazy combos. Super fun deck, really cool stuff. As always, you guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you in the next video, and this is AVAULT signing